Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Beyond the Berg podcast with Bosire Makori. I'd like to talk about breathing and confidence today. I went on a walk a few days ago and it was really great. I started out in the morning feeling anxious, feeling like the activities or aspects of my life were getting in the way of my own happiness. And I was wondering why. Because I've been on a pretty good path and there isn't a specific reason in my own story for me to have that feeling of anxiety other than being blown off course. So during the walk, I came to the realization, or the realization again, that nobody knows what they're doing. And the fear or feelings within yourself are a reflection of the world outside of you. And when you accept negative things and negative realities, it will lead to your own negative fruitions. Good seeds, good fruits, wholesome results. Bad seeds, bad fruits, unwholesome results. And it's always been that simple, at least for me. I realized that if you want to make the world complicated, the world will oblige. If you want things to be simple, then things can be fairly and really simple. One thing related to that in terms of confidence is how you take care of yourself. Earlier, just a few minutes ago, I cut my nails because I want them to be short. And, I have eczema and stuff, so scratching is a big deal. So by cutting them, not only do they look clean, but it also keeps my skin healthier and in a good condition. And that is with the understanding that the best way to love others is to love yourself, is to take care of yourself. That anxiety I felt was scary because usually I should be able to keep track of my emotions. It reminded me of my teenage years and childhood and how I felt like I wasn't in control because I wasn't. And the things that I was being taught by quote unquote adults weren't helping me. They were turning me into something they wanted to see, but it wasn't helping me. And those adults thought, oh yeah, this is gonna help them. But it was actually, this will turn them into what I want to see. So being able to break the control of naive people because no one knows what they're doing has been a huge part of my path. Being able to break the control of people because nobody knows what they're doing. Not your parents, not the governor, not an expert, not a beginner. And the issue is in Star Wars. I've heard they say that a Jedi only truly starts his training when he becomes a master to a Padawan. And that's kind of like not specifically, but it's kind of like a Zen understanding. I know in the Mumonkan they have a verse about a disciple asking, so what if what if a dude did have a red beard? And the master said, come up and I'll tell you. And then the student boxed the master's ear in the gateless gate. And I just thought that was very funny. Oh, even the student has a certain level of understanding that the master laughed at. I don't think the master reprimanded him, but he was like, oh, now I've seen the red-faced barbarian myself. And that whole idea of Jedi Padawan is like the guru and his disciple. And through my learnings of Sanatana Dharma and my study of the Bhagavad Gita, I've come to understand that the guru is God, the teacher is God. So even Jesus and people calling him rabbi, it's because he had that direct connection to God. And that's not a hidden secret that needs to be kept behind a paywall or a tithing. That's just something you can read in the book. It's interesting how the printing press really democratized reading of the Bible, probably to the chagrin or dislike of the Orthodox Catholic or just Orthodox Church in general. Oh, now people can have their own control and own understanding. How can we make them buy into ours? And that's a big deal right there. Look at the idea of laws and governing in the modern world. We know that in colonialism, again, this is a talk about breathing and confidence. We know that in colonialism, education, law, and religion were a trifecta of oppression to the indigenous native people of all over the world, except even to the Europeans themselves. They use education, law, and religion to oppress their own people. All to like the whole idea of divine right, a divine right that makes laws that then is used to oppress the people and teach them that only listen to the king knows best. So right there you have religion because of the divine right of kings given back to God. You have law because those kings get to make the laws and own the land. And then you have education because by making the laws and owning the land, then you get to decide what is learned and what is done on the land, which keeps your people your people. We're living in a world where borders don't really make that much sense anymore. For one, in most of like the quote unquote developing world, because it's only developing in terms of European colonial standards and Western standards, the borders were made up. They don't really do anything but those borders are a part of the profit motive of Western countries. That part is the material. When we look at the spiritual, what we see is the spread of Christianity. And one thing that is said and that I've learned is that missionaries were the first spies of the Western powers. They were taken in to convert, learn, translate, talk to the people, and then take those secrets back to Europe. And then in about 20 years, you got a colony there. So you have to look at the yin yang of it all. As in, on the surface, we're pious men of God only here to spread the gospel. And the yin, the ultimate yin hidden behind supreme yang, is that black dot I'm talking about, is the fact that those missionaries gained the first pieces of knowledge, gained the maps, gained the understanding of the people, that then the divine right of kings, the law, used to subjugate those people. And also, with religion being a form of education, the hierarchical form of Christianity and Western understandings of spirituality and God infected the natural understanding of spirituality that was in most of the southern world, in many places. And let's at least say that in that sense, we have the hierarchical, vertical thinking of Europe. Most places, let's say Europe was the culmination of hierarchy and vertical thinking, just looking at what they were able to do in the colonialism and subjugation of the people. So even when you look at their God, it's this top-down understanding of they're doing this thing not even knowing what God is saying or they think they do. But with that hierarchical understanding, when does a peasant ever get to talk to the king? Very, very rarely. And when I see it in certain animes and stuff, it's a long line of peasants and the king just hears his grievances. But the king does not care. The king really doesn't care. It's more of just entertainment. And another thing, it's just for them to kiss the hand of the king. It's for them to show their fealty and their submission to the law, education, and religion of the king. Because he's the culmination of all of that. He has the most of all things. Even if he isn't the smartest, even if he isn't the most righteous, even if he isn't doing what God is saying or even doing what the law is saying, just because he is king, he is automatically good. So in that way, that's how Western society sees spirituality in God. As long as we believe we are following the king, then anything we do is good because it's what the king is doing. But who's telling them that they're following what the king is doing? Themselves. So when we come to the Western understanding, we not even we come from the Western point of view, we have this whole idea of God being inside of you. And on a deeper level, as in like the Buddhist and in certain Hindu, which is the European term, in certain Hindu traditions, you have this idea of Atman, the real self, and Anatman, the false self. And in that, enlightenment is not something anybody can do, but it's possible for everyone. As in, there is no physical effort that you can put in. Doesn't matter how many monasteries you build, how many ancient texts you translate, how much prosperity you bring to your people. It's not a check mark. It's not a list to check off things on. Enlightenment is in the moment. That's one phrase that is used. It is everywhere, always, and will always be. Never changing, unconditioned. So it's not something for you to chase, at least not in the traditional sense. And that's the difference between the 0-1 subject-object duality, top-down materialist understanding versus the horizontal, spiritual, all things are connected understanding. All to say that it's easier to reach something that's on the same plane as you than it is to climb up. In that, confidence from the Western perspective comes from believing that you're right and everything that you do is right and will lead to good results. Even if reality is literally telling you that what you're doing is wrong, it is the belief that what you are doing is right that matters. And you see the white world we live in. On the other side, this understanding of God being within you and just as equally in everything else all over existence gives this sense of communal, collective understanding. Everything is working together to create the whole that is this wondrous reality we share. There is nothing missing and nothing out of place in the spiritual sense. I've read that in Change the Karma, this book I got a few months ago. The world is perfect. And it's through the collective jumbling of actions and reactions that you get the mundane world. Here's the book real quick. I'm gonna find that part and read it because it was actually very interesting. It says, okay, time out. Let's stop and take a breath. Let's first look to see if there is a root cause or causes to all these problems. If we are going to fix the problems in once and for all, we must understand and deal with the root cause, not the symptoms. And all of the items mentioned above are in fact just symptoms. In order to understand that, we must first understand and accept that from a spiritual perspective, this world is perfect. There is nothing that is wrong or out of place or out of order. What? Perfect? Well, then what about all the mayhem, the protests, the inequity, the injustices, the human trafficking, murders, bribery, theft, and? What kind of God creates a world that is both crazily wrong and perfect at the same time? That doesn't make any sense. Well, it's quite simple, actually, and it can be summed up in one word: karma. It's karma. Not the Chinese, not the virus, not the politicians, not the globalists, not the conservatives or liberals, not the vaxxed or the unvaxxed, not any of the people at whom we want to point the finger. Instead, it is shockingly someone we hardly ever point the finger at. It's ourselves. Yes, as in us. We have created a debt of a different kind, a huge karmic debt, a debt that must and will be paid, and the bill collector here to collect now. The good news is that all these problems and all of the suffering can be averted, and peace and sanity restored simply by changing the karma. But to do that, we must know more about what karma is and how it works. The world is perfect. All this inequity is due to karma, our reactions. The world is perfect. All this inequity is due to karma, our reactions. So white people collectively like to talk about how certain white people, let's say, how racism is over, this, that, and the other. Again, to say that white is a political identity, a made-up identity by a group of Westerners to create a buffer between the collective working class and the rich. Some of the first indentured servants in America were white people. But white people from Europe, what did they do? But at that time, they were Irish, Italian, whatever. I don't have any facts on that. What did they do, though? They came here, worked as indentured servants for a while, and then with the money they had, they bought land in the New World. So it wasn't that effective for the owning bourgeoisie in the colonies and first years of the American experiment to continuously have this revolving door of indentured servants that were equal to you. They were just, at that point, those were real temporarily embarrassed millionaires, because all they had to do was work for one of the people who came to the colony a little earlier and then buy their own land. And at some point, if I'm one of the first people there, it's like, what's so special about me if everyone can become equal to me by only working for me for maybe 5 years? And I think that's a long time, 5 years, and then you're equal to me, and I need about 20 people working for me. So after every 5 years, there's 20 new people that are landowners just like me. What makes me special? What makes me powerful? I, me. And that's the idea of the Atman versus Anatman. From the spiritual perspective, the world is perfect. That's Atman, the peace of God inside every single one of us. But when people look at things from a materials perspective, how can I, me be better, be more comfortable, possess, attach? Then things seem imperfect and you're like, indentured servants aren't good enough. Look at all the mayhem they're causing by buying up the land. Let me get some slaves instead. And apparently slavery was something that almost immediately started on the colonies, because those colonists realized they didn't want to actually do the hard work of starting a colony. A lot of the first colonies that the Westerners from Europe tried to make failed because they couldn't handle it. All to say that this idea of slavery is to say, this work is too hard. Looks like I need to force some people to do the work that I need to get done. So when you look at it from that perspective, what should the white people today? I remember watching this interview of Ice Cube, the rapper. I think the white one, or Vanilla Ice. Yes, Vanilla Ice. And he was in an interview and they were talking about how, oh, Vanilla Ice, you seem to be really popular amongst white people, but in the rap world, you didn't really get the cred or do what it takes in the traditional sense to be considered a good rapper. It's just the fact that you're white. And Vanilla Ice was like, I didn't ask for this. I just wanted to dance, because he started out as like a background dancer, if I remember correctly. He just wanted to dance. He just wanted to have fun, and all that stuff, all the whole like, oh, white rapper, this, that, and the other was forced onto him. And boo fucking who is what I want to say to that. Who told you to not be intelligent or to enter into a space not knowing what it takes or what it's really about? It's like going into foreign unknown waters. That's what Vanilla Ice did. Yeah, entertainment, but there are infinite realms to what it means to entertain. And if you didn't, it's like if you didn't want to do the work to at least find out where you could fit in and how to be respectful, who are you blaming for the backlash? Your own inability to handle the emotions of the populace? It's not even sigh-worthy, because again, hopefully that fixes it. Again, our dad, our father, who art in heaven, is there for us. Again, this talk was about confidence and breathing. And all these things do relate to breath. All to say that breath is the reciprocal part of our being, and it's subconscious and conscious at the same time. Those who can understand their breath gain the first step in understanding not only what it means to be alive, but what it means to be human. Because breath is something, human is a sentient being, a conscious being, a being that can affect changes within its reality. Breath is something that we can partially control, but for the most part, it's subconscious. It's not something you have to consciously think of to act or do. And in that gives us a hint on how we should be living our lives, where it's not about breathing intentionally 24/7, 7 days a week for your whole life. Your body can already do it without you being aware of it. But when you are breathing with intention, make sure you have purpose, have control, and actually care about what it is you're doing. We live in a world where healthcare can make you go bankrupt, at least in America, where people are afraid to go to the hospital to get healed. And even all these experts, all these people that go to school and everything, all they're thinking is, at least I have the money. They don't actually even care to change the way things work because of the profit motive behind it. And as in, they can't beat the profit motive. The profit motive is something that has to be collectively forced on people and collectively taken away. Because again, it started with slavery. That's how America got the money necessary to do what it did. And that's where even the Nazis got a lot of their ideas from on how to be good world superpowers and how to get their notoriety and fame and everything. And even China, bless their heart, they probably didn't want to do a lot of the bad stuff they did, but they saw, oh, if we want to play this game, we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And the collective karma of that is on them. That's all I'm gonna say. The breath that they took, for the little bit of intention they had, the good, for the good and bad, you could say that some people use the life-giving force of breath to act negatively within the world. That's your reaction. That's your karma. Some people use the life-giving force of breath to act positively in the world. That's your action. That's your karma. Some people have good intentions and do bad things. Some people have bad intentions and do good things. Confidence, the ability to walk in this world upright, like a man or woman. Not full grown, but full in your being, is gained from the humble perspective that you are not perfect, that you will perish, and despite that, you will still move on. And a true understanding of the fact that you will perish keeps you from negative states of being in action, or at least is a stepping stone in that path. Because like in Jujutsu Kaisen, I think his name is Todo, he said, the blossoms of the solid trees flourish with the knowledge that, oh, let's see. Yeah, the blossoms of the solid trees flourish, communicating the knowledge that what flourishes must fade. The flowers of the solid tree blossoms with the knowledge that what flourishes must fade. The bells of the Gion Monastery ring, reminding us of impermanence, if I remember correctly. And Toto says, but we are the exception. And I made a TikTok that basically correlated what Toto said, saving main character, to, in Jujutsu Kaisen, to the Four Noble Truths. All life is suffering. It is due to attachment to the world. There is a cure, the Noble Eightfold Path. And that's my understanding of the Four Noble Truths. Maybe in the comments you can add yours so we can share and become better together. But with that understanding, the world is perfect. All life is unsatisfactory. How does that align? All material life is unsatisfactory. And it is due to attachment to the material, the world. All life is unsatisfactory due to attachment to the world, material reality. But from a spiritual perspective, the world is perfect. What is material reality? Karma, reactions, thinking that the thing in front of you is actually real. And I'm talking with conviction and confidence from myself, the Atman, and God, the outer self or perfect nature. It is due to attachment to the world, and there is a cure, right? If we go back to that page, where is the third noble truth? There is a cure, exactly. And I think we're almost there. Well, it's quite simple, actually, and it can be summed up in one word. It's karma. Instead, it is shockingly someone we hardly ever point the finger at. It's ourselves. There is a cure. It's ourselves. You see how that's starting you on the right track? So to change the karma, what must we do? Change ourselves, our reactions. Because our body is just a collection of reactions. So breathing and confidence. By getting to that basic karma of breathing, you will change your reactions and give yourself confidence, and the right type of confidence, because you are not going out into the world to effect changes on it as if you are some god of perfection. You are going within to affect changes on who you are, because you know that you are not perfect in the material sense. You have to get to your spirituality, and that is not easy. It's not like taking a test. It's not like going to college and passing classes and getting the degree at the end. It's not like getting a job. It's nothing like that. It is something personal. It is something visceral. It is something intrapersonal for the inside self. Nobody else will know. Nobody else will see your transformation. They talk about Buddha under the Bodhi tree. They talk about Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. And when Krishna says, this form you are seeing is something that few or no one has ever seen before except you. Arjuna cannot take the understanding he got in the Bhagavad Gita and explain it in the exact same way that Krishna explained it to him. Because a part of Krishna's explanation wasn't even in the physical to begin with. So you realize this roadmap that is the Bhagavad Gita will only ever be a map. Do not get lost in the labyrinth. These podcasts, I want to become more real, more in-depth and about myself, but something that everyone can understand. I'd like the people to do practices with me too, like reading the Bhagavad Gita as a simple, basic one. Reading Change the Karma. And beyond reading, acting in ways that allow us to change our reactions so we can end up in better places. If you only want to watch 15 or 10 minutes of this video, go right on ahead and do that. Hopefully it changes the way you act for the better, because making these videos changes the way I act for the better. Because I'm not a Christian woo-woo 23-year-old that's trying to convert you to Christianity and have you come to my online church. Fuck that shit. They're dumbasses. And boo-hoo if you feel bad about me saying that. But honestly, no matter what religion, no matter what creed, no matter what you believe, you are not changing old age, disease, and death. And that is not to scare you or curse you. That's to have you have the basic understanding of what it means to be alive. Old age, sickness, and death are guaranteed. At least one of them for all of us, if not two of them, if you really think about it. I didn't think about it at first. But one can lead to another that leads to another. For some, old age is 2 years old. Maybe you're a dog, maybe you're a mayfly, or maybe you were born as a human with a weak body, because it does happen. And I'm sad for that. At the same time, let's make the most of what it is we do have. And let's not get stuck in death, because death, yin yang, is a part of life. Even here, with greed, anger, and ignorance that keeps us within the world in the Om symbol. The Deva realm and the Godhead are still a part of it. The world is perfect when we understand things beyond what is just given to us or slapped in front of our eyes in material reality. We have to use words, this idea of symbolism and transformation of meaning and energy to find our way and to change our karma. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All life is suffering, and it is due to attachment to the world. But there is a cure, the Noble Eightfold Path. Have a good one, y'all. And thank Jesus, too.